Carlos Corberan is the bookies' favourite to become the next Leicester City manager after Enzo Maresca departed the club to Chelsea. Now, the whole Enzo Maresca stuff, that is that will be on another video. Obviously, we've already done many videos discussing his move to Chelsea. But right now, I want to talk about the bookies' favourite, Carlos Corberan, and what he could bring to Leicester City if he was to join us from West Bromwich Albion. Now, Enzo Maresca and Carlos Corberan, their systems aren't too dissimilar. However, Carlos Corberan does seem to be more fast-paced and more of an attacking style of play that I think would suit our club down to the ground in terms of the expectations from the fans that we saw over the last season and accusations that were leveled at Enzo Maresca about the style and about fans not being too happy with the slow-paced game. But I think Carlos Corberan would be a really good fit for Leicester. And one of the reasons for that I'm going to start with here is the fullbacks. Now, with help to a West Bromwich Albion fan who I've got to answer some questions, and also Tactic_AR on Twitter, who has done a deep dive into Carlos Corberan's system, we're going to go through some of the details and see why Carlos Corberan might be a good fit for Leicester City. Now, just to start, like I said, with the fullbacks. So he utilizes the fullbacks. Carlos Corberan loves his fullbacks and he utilizes them to exploit space, basically. Mostly the space between the opposing fullbacks and centre-backs. Now, I'm going to include some screenshots here, like I said, that have been provided by Tactic_AR, who's done a deep dive into Carlos Corberan. And we can look at a few different things, basically. So we'll start here with the heat map. The heat map for the fullbacks. Now, Darnell Furlong, Connor Townsend, two good, decent fullbacks at the Championship level. Not in the Premier League, of course, but in the Championship, two decent fullbacks. And you can see here, although the majority of their touches, of course, come in the left-back and fullback traditional positions, you can see how far they get up the pitch and how often they're up there as well. You can see some red there on the heat map in the inside space, not just overlaps on the touchline on either side, but actually coming inside quite a bit. Now, why does their heat maps look like this? Well, if you watch Corberan and how he has his team set up, you'll see a lot of underlapping runs and inside rushes. Tactic_AR has actually called it fullback dash. Like we have our own terminology for Enzo's advanced states. I think we would be using the fullback dash or the FB dash a lot under Carlos Corberan. You can see here that when the ball goes out wide with one of the midfielders, they are attacking-minded fullbacks and they're actually very active in the box. Again, underlapping into the box, not only creating space, but causing a bit of chaos while they're at it. And you saw this type of thing at Leeds United under Marcelo Bielsa, and it's not a big surprise that we see it with Carlos Corberan, as Carlos Corberan was a coach and he actually was a manager of the under-23s or the under-21s at Leeds United. So he definitely would have some inspiration from Marcelo Bielsa. Now, like the Enzo Maresca system at Leicester City, you can see that the number 9 drops down into the zone. We saw this with Jamie Vardy, with Patson Daka, with Tom Cannon, dropping deep and making himself an option pretty much. And that then allows the fullbacks to go for it. They bomb it forward. You can see in the screenshot here, the centre forward comes deep and the fullback starts his run. This move creates basically a crack in the opponent's defence and it frees up space for our midfielders or West Brom's midfielders in the next phase. In another pattern here, you can see the fullbacks actually take over the half-space run, a role that the number 8s in the Enzo team played, indeed in Dewsbury Hall. Now, importantly, the quality of the fullbacks seem to be crucial for a Corberan team. Obviously, they have a lot of running to do. They're actively involved in the offensive gameplay, and I think Ricardo Pereira and potentially James Justin, if not maybe somebody new, a Victor Christiansen maybe, they would have a lot of joy in a Carlos Corberan team. Enzo Maresca relied on Ricardo Pereira a hell of a lot. He was so vital for our team and our system. And I think Ricardo Pereira could be an absolute force to be reckoned with in a Carlos Corberan team. We've seen Ricardo Pereira over his time at Leicester bombing forward, being an attacking threat. And I think he would be in the same in this team as well. Now, It's not like Enzo ball, where you often see a slow build up. Corberan ball is actually all about fast tempo transitions and speedy game. And again, talking about the FB dash, you can see in this screenshot that he uses this to utilize space. Um, of course, like with any manager, any team, they can't always be this fast, dynamic transitioning team. And he obviously does have draw his limitations because of the quality of players that he has. But let's not forget, this West Brom team finished fifth place on 75 points, only behind Leicester City, Ipswich, Southampton, and Leeds United. So he's done a very good job at West Brom, and people will say he's not even being promoted. Look at the team he was up against, the strongest championship ever, and he got them the best of the rest. And I think that was a pretty good achievement from Carlos Corberan. In addition to everything we've already spoken about, we can see a double runner system in the attack zone, a fullback and a winger running at the same time. You can see that here. You can see the two players running here, and again, it causes a bit of chaos. It creates two different options on the attack, and it's ultimately a bit of a handful for the defensive team. Now, Mavididi and Fatu last season were given some pinning roles on the flanks in the Enzo ball, where they were kind of pinned wide. They would maybe look for the overlap or the underlap from Wilfred and Ndidi and Dewsbury Hall. Whereas under a Carlos Corberan team, this team chooses to lean and finish the attack quickly rather than pinning the wingers to hold the wide line, basically. So does Corberan ball lose any detail in the build-up? Tactic R says. Well, it doesn't. He often starts with a stable 4-2 build-up at the back. However, when the opponent's pressure came in, the attacking midfielder and winger narrowed it down to create basically a triangle. And the opposite centre mid then approaches, pulling the opposing defense and then again creating space. Now, it's not just the attacking side of Corberan ball that is impressive, but also the defensive side of his game, the defensive tactics. So the defense is based on a 4-4-2, and the spacing between the third and fourth lines is very tight. So the front two are the striker and the attacking midfielder, and the midfield line stays put, even if the front line pushes out, runs out. Now, there are a few gaps in space because the centre mid is always there to help in defensive transition situations. And if one centre midfielder moves forward, the other centre midfielder is there to close the gap immediately. So to summarise, Corberan ball, you've got the full-back dash, double runners, fast transitions, compact 4-4-2 while defending, and then also focusing on the opponent's backspace. Now, there is no guarantees that Carlos Corberan will be our next manager. The board might go in a completely different direction, but I am so certain that this is the right appointment. I have asked a West Brom fan to answer a few different questions that I had and that other Leicester fans might have to see whether he would be a good fit for us or not. Now, I spoke with Joe, who is a West Brom fan. His Twitter handle or X handle is WBA_Joe. So check him out if you want to, and if you want to ask him any questions yourself. But let's get through the questions I asked him and let's see what he did have to say about Corberan ball. I asked Joe first, how would you sum up Carlos's time at West Brom? Have you progressed as a team under him? This is what he had to say.
I would say that Carlos Corberan's time at West Brom has been an overall success. If you look at where we were when we started with him, we were 23rd in the table. When after his first game, we were 24th, so bottom of the championship. Then he got us up to contending with the playoffs until the last game of the season. So overall, I think that is a success. And obviously, we've progressed. He's improved players. If you look at the likes of Kipre and Alex Mowatt, who were disregarded by Steve Bruce the year before, they've managed to come into the team and be arguably our player of the seasons. Me personally, I really rate Mowatt, and I really think that Carlos Corberan has improved the team and improved the players as well. We've gone from barely winning in the championship to playoff team. So I think that is a really good sign from Corberan that he can develop the players tactically and yeah, to just develop them into a championship side.
Next, I asked Joe, how would you describe Corberan's football in one sentence? Let's see if it matches what I was just talking about.
So I would describe Carlos Corberan's football as there's not one sentence. I describe it as a well coached side. I think when you look at us, we're very structured out of possession. He's calling the 4-4-2 mid block, pretty much, kind of numb the opposition out. Also, what I'd say, he's as adaptable. So even if you're playing a bigger team, like say against Southampton, in that first half, we kind of sat back a bit and we were able to kind of absorb their pressure. Then you look at other games of the season, we've been able to dominate the ball against teams, and we've been able to kind of just show how good we are on the ball, especially not against the big teams. So we're playing Rotherham at home, we're still able to dominate the ball with 60% possession, have loads of chances, but yeah, he is I'd say adaptable, and he can just kind of adapt to the situation in the game as well, change something if he sees something that's not working. He'll switch. Not what we've seen quite a lot this season is switch the wingers. So if I kind of Jed Wallace and Mikey Johnson in the second half of the season, they've been able to kind of switch wings, which has been really helpful for us.
My next question for Joe is, which position would you say is the most crucial in a Carlos Corberan team?
That's a good question. I think the most important position is probably the centre midfielders. I think the centre midfielders are key, especially in possession. So, for example, this season for Alex Mowat, who's come back into the team, but he's been able to kind of drop deep and receive the ball because of his good passing ability. Nokai Kushner as well. They're both two very good technical players on the ball. So those are two that I would really. Those are two key players in the Carlos Corberan team. As well as centre backs as well. I think they are key in terms of the first phase of possession, where we're kind of playing out from the back. Centre back receiver and the goalkeeper. They able to play out wide. I said that I'm thinking about that actually. You've got the fullbacks as well. The fullbacks are really important because they kind of invert. So almost the central defensive midfielder, normally Kushlu, drops into the back three with Bartley and Kipre, and the fullback support Moa in there as maybe like another three, and then I'll push on the midfield and attack. So yeah, there are a number of crucial positions, but I'd say midfield is probably the key one.
I then asked Joe, which current Leicester players would you say suits Carlos's system the best? Which Leicester player do you think will be very, very important to a Carlos Corberan team?
I'd probably say I'm talking to Locks on Twitter about it, and he reckons Harry Winks, and I agree in that sense. I think Harry Winks could do that Alex Murray role quite well, kind of, or Hayekush, just dropping back and receiving the ball and making that back three in possession pretty much, and able to kind of support the attack when needed against the smaller team. Sorry, where we have more of the ball, have more chances to attack.
And finally, I asked Joe what his overall thoughts are on Carlos, not only as a coach, but also as a person, his personality, his character as a manager. What is he like, not just on the pitch or on the touchline, but behind the scenes in interviews and things like that?
I'd say he's quite calm. When he's off the pitch, he's quite a calm person. But when he's on the pitch, he's really quite animated, and he's always kind of barking instructions, kind of like just trying to switch wings or kind of press. Um, but kind of you won't see him like accelerate on the pitch. He's not that kind of like not passionate, but he loves the game rather than the occasion. I think it was good to say with Corberan. I think he is able to manage himself well in those high pressure circumstances, and yeah, I think he'd be a top manager for any club. To be honest, I really rate him. I think he's going to manage England one day. Um, that's how highly I rate him. I think he's really adaptable, and that kind of football suits him. So yeah, that is Carlos Corberan in a nutshell.
So, do you think Carlos Corberan would be a good fit for Leicester City? I certainly think he would. Let me know if you do as well. If not, put in the comments who you think would be a better option. Please drop a like on the video as well. Hit the subscribe button. And thanks again to WBA_Joe and Tactic_AR, both on X. So check them out, who have been a great help in the production of this video. So, as always, come on, you foxes. We'll see you very soon. Thanks for watching Leicester Fan TV.